Today we're going over the Bunnell-Littler test, which is a test you would use if someone had lost flexion range of motion at the PIP joint. So you would use this test to help you assess, well, is the problem coming from tight intrinsic muscles of the hands, so mostly the interossei, or is it coming from a tight joint capsule or something deep in the joint itself? So let's get into the test. So basically with this test is you're putting the MCP joint into two different positions, and each time you're measuring the PIP joint flexion range of motion. So position 1, you put the MCP joint into slight extension. All of this is done passively. You then flex the PIP joint maximally and measure and record the kind of range of motion you're seeing at the PIP joint. So this is position 1. After a little reset, you go into position 2. MCP joint goes into slight flexion, all done passively. You then flex the PIP joint to maximum and record that range of motion you're seeing there. You then compare and contrast the first position range of motion to the second position range of motion to interpret your results. So let's perform the test as if I had tight intrinsic muscles and show you what that would look like. So first up, we put the MCP joint into slight extension. Already, these muscles are very tight now. I have very limited range of motion at the PIP joint. So as you can see, very limited range of motion. We put the MCP joint into slight flexion. As you can see, these muscles are now on slack, and I have more range of motion at the PIP joint. So it could be subtle. You know, you could get a little bit here and then a little more here, but that'll show you that the muscles are the influencers there. They're the ones limiting that range of motion. So if you get less range of motion here, more here, it's telling you it's the tight intrinsic muscles that are limiting that PIP joint flexion. Now let's perform the test as if I had a tight joint capsule. So as you can see, I put tape around this joint to represent that tight joint capsule, and this is what the test would look like. So we put the MCP joint into slight extension, all done passively. We then flex the PIP joint. As you can see, very limited range of motion there. We then passively move the MCP joint into flexion, and again try to flex the PIP joint. As you can see, we're getting basically the same range of motion from position 1 to position 2. That's because it doesn't matter what position the MCP joint is. It doesn't matter if the muscles are on stretch or if they're on slack. The range of motion is the same because the muscles aren't involved here. They're not the problem. Everything's right here. It's the tight joint capsule that's causing that limited range of motion. Okay, so let's get into some tips that'll help you remember this test going forward and how to interpret the results real easily. So if you're doing the test, you do position 1, you do position 2, think of this mnemonic. If there's more ROM, check the palm. If it's the same, the joint is to blame. So if you think of it, if you're getting more range of motion out of this PIP joint at the second part of the test, more ROM, check the palm, aka the intrinsic muscles of the hand. They're probably tight and reducing that flexion. If the range of motion is the same in any position, it's the joint that's the problem. Check out the joint capsule or the joint itself. That's limiting the flexion range of motion. All right, one more tip for you guys. If they give you a flashcard and they say, do Bunnell-Littler, and you're trying to remember, what is Bunnell-Littler again? So what I think about is, instead of Bunnell, I think of bunny. And since the main test is basically kind of doing this position, I think of that bunny ears. All right, so like that with my fingers. So I think of Bunnell to bunny. I think of doing bunny ears, and I think, oh, right, it's something with the fingers. Oh, okay, now I remember what's going on here. It's this flexion extension test. So that gives you a little idea of, remember the bunny, that'll get you an idea into the fingers, to the hands, and then you'll kind of remember the rest of the test from there. Well, that was a little bit of a deep dive on the Bunnell-Littler test, but hopefully it helped you, and hopefully you can remember it in the future. If you need some good luck vibes for the next test, just leave a comment below, and I'll always hit you back. As always, thanks for watching, and of course, good luck on your next test.